Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So as I start, thanks, B. First of all, can you guys, I want to thank Bedros first and foremost for allowing me to come up here and present this to you. And I'm going to tell you that I'm very nervous. So I'm going to stutter some, and that's okay. And we're going to talk about why that's okay in just a second. But before we kick off, how many of you have ever wondered what it took to become a Navy SEAL? Or how Navy SEALs think? Okay, most of you, not all of you. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share 5 secrets to help you think like a Navy SEAL and apply those secrets in your life. But before I do, I want you to think about one area in your life that you need to improve more than anything else. And it could be one of these areas. It could be something else. There's another thing there. But I want you to think about, as I go through this presentation, only think about one area in your life that you need to improve. And then take these 5 SEAL secrets and apply them to that one area. No other area in your life. Apply them to that one area. And there may be a time where you can only apply 2 or 3 of these secrets. And then once you apply those 2 or 3 secrets and you master those secrets to that one area in your life, then apply the rest. And once you master that one area in your life with these 5 SEAL secrets, then apply it to the next area and the next area and the next area. Because if you try to apply them to everything in your life, you're not going to apply them to anything. Focus on one thing and get really, really good at that. So a little bit about me. Bedros told you I'm a retired Navy SEAL. I spent about 26 years and 17 days in the military. I have 10 total deployments. I have 7 combat deployments between Iraq and Afghanistan. I was a SEAL sniper instructor. Jumped out of airplanes at 25,000 feet with full body armor, combat equipment, weapons at night, night vision goggles. Pretty cool stuff. A little scary. Some weird stuff can happen. Fast roped onto submarines in the middle of the ocean. I've done very complex undersea operations, and many of those operations were approved by the President of the United States. And just for clarity, not every SEAL mission is approved by the President of the United States. The President only approves very specific, very strategic missions. So the fact that I was fortunate enough to get to do some operations that went all the way up to the top, I'm very lucky to have done that. So here's some pictures of Iraq and Afghanistan. I kind of like this one right here. So we're up here. There's a little kid right there, and you can't really see it, but right there, we're dropping bombs on people. And there's, little kids are like right there, but that's how they live in Afghanistan. So when 9/11 happened, I was teaching sniper school, and I wasn't the senior man, but I was the senior instructor. And so 9/11 was going down, and I'm like, what the hell do we do? So I called back to the headquarters. We were in Indiana, and I'm like, how am I the senior man and we've got all this going on? So they said, just like Bedros said with the project, continue training. So we watched, the news and whatever for the rest of the day. The next day we went back, continued training, finished that course. We later deployed overseas. One of the cool things about jumping out of airplanes is, it's very safe. The only things that could go wrong are the decisions that you make from the time that you step off that ramp till the time that you hit the ground. It's all about decision making. And you have plenty of time to make those decisions. Even if things go badly, you still have time to make those decisions. And one of the reasons that we choose to go in to a target this way is we jump out of the airplane, the target's over there. We jump out over here, we get under canopy, we fly. The bad guys never know we're there. We land somewhere over here, and then we pack up our parachutes and, put them in a pile, and then we walk another 5 miles to the target. Bad guys never have any idea that we're coming. I remember one time we were training for this, and I was wearing body armor, about a 100-pound rucksack, and we were doing it in the day and then going into night. And I I talked about the decisions that you make from the time you step off the ramp. There are other decisions that you make before you get on the airplane. So I was pretty good at packing my parachute very quickly. So much that we have what we call the ugly parachute contest. Who can pack the ugliest parachute and it still opens? Don't worry, you've got a reserve. You'll be fine. There's some very specific things that you do when you pack the parachute. Everything else can be total trash as long as you can get it in the bag. We fold it a certain way to make it easier to get in the bag. But you can just shove it in there like your socks in your underwear drawer. But one thing you have to do is to do this 4-line check. And I didn't do that. I was too arrogant, too cocky. My ego got in the way. And but I shoved my parachute in there. I packed it really quickly, got out, and we jumped. And I, counted to 4. I pulled my parachute. And this time when my parachute opened, it was open behind my head like this. The risers were crossed and I couldn't look up. And I'm like, this really sucks. And so it did. And I'm like, well, I have a good parachute, but I can't steer it because what we're doing, we open up really high and the first man out, he opens and then he's the navigator. And you follow the low man. Like wherever he goes, you go. And then you all land in the same place and then you go on your mission. Well, I can't even see the navigator. And I'm like, I have a good parachute, but I can't steer it. So it's not safe. So then I have to cut it away. I hate cutting away parachutes. It was perfectly good. But so I went through the procedures and I landed and everything was fine. So we get to do cool stuff like that. Fast roping on the submarines in the middle of the ocean, super cool. Living on a submarine sucks. Nobody wants to do that. And then we also do these complex undersea operations. So this is a SEAL delivery vehicle, and this is the garage that we keep it in. These are missions that are approved by the President of the United States because of their complexity and because of the strategic nature of these missions. One of the things that you have to do in here, they're very complex, but you try to make them as simple as possible. The same thing in business. Business can be very complex, but you try to make it as simple as possible so you can do it over and over and over and make as much money as you can with the least amount of effort. So the way that we communicate, if you are in the back of this thing, it's full of water. You're on scuba. You may have another dive rig on, and there's another guy sitting here and a guy sitting in my lap and a guy sitting in their lap. And so it's like you're under the table and you're like this. And your buddy moves around. You can't communicate except squeezes. So one squeeze is okay. I squeeze you to ask you if you're okay. You squeeze me and say, yeah, I'm okay. And then you squeeze the next guy and the next guy until it comes back to me. The way that we talk from back here to the front of the boat, we have a little light, a little button right up here. And 1 is like, okay. They ask if we're okay. We're like, we're okay. 2 is no. I still don't know what happens with no. Are you okay? No. Whoa. 3 is, I can't clear my ears. Can you come up 5 feet? And 4, there's an emergency. If there's an emergency and we're in a harbor somewhere that maybe we shouldn't be in, we're not coming up. Sorry, bro. Bad day. So, we've done some pretty complex stuff throughout my career. And again, these were the presidents that approved some of the operations that I was a part of. So, 5 SEAL secrets. So, after 26 years of doing some cool stuff, deploying around the world, I've distilled most of my lessons as a SEAL into these 5 secrets. Now, these aren't the only secrets I have, but these are 5 that I promise will help you get where you want to go faster. And to help you remember these 5 SEAL secrets, I came up with an acronym. And if you guys haven't figured it out yet, that acronym is N.A.K.E.D. Naked isn't necessarily about being physically naked, although I'm down with that. Naked is about taking your ego off and setting into the corner and becoming your authentic self and doing what you can actually do, what you're truly, truly capable of doing. And because we're talking about thinking like a Navy SEAL, I put the word get in front of naked. So if you want to think like a Navy SEAL, you have to get naked. So really quickly, so please take notes, ask questions at the end. I'm going to try to get through this in enough time, or Joan will beat me. Maybe Bedros will beat me. But I'm going to give you this presentation towards the end. So take notes. You'll have an opportunity to take this presentation with you and really a lot of the script that I'm giving you. So let's kick this thing off. N stands for never quit. How many times have you heard that? Never quit. No one ever tells you what to do or how to never quit. And when I say never quit, I'm not talking about never quit smoking, drinking excessively, never quit trying to get out of this toxic relationship that you're in. Never quit means never quit on yourself. The Navy SEAL Creed says, I will never quit. I persevere and I thrive on adversity. Never quit means if you had the opportunity, if you thought that if I do this, this will change my life, this will change the world, this is a good thing, and it's going to be pretty hard, but I'm going to do it anyway, that the 1% will do what the 99% will not do, never quit that. So how do you do that? You're gonna have times when you are completely overwhelmed, you have no idea what the next right thing is or what you're gonna do, and you kind of want to quit. You're like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm so fucking overwhelmed. What you do, and I learned this technique in SEER school, which is a prisoner of war school, where they interrogate you and try to get the truth out of you and actually get you to comply. Your job is to create small victories. You're going to comply. You're going to give up information. You're going to do what they want you to do eventually. They will beat you. They will be nice to you. They will eventually get information out. But your job is to not give away all the information. Your job is to create small victories. You're out of control. You are in an environment where you do not control what's going on around you. You make these small victories to control the environment that you are in. And so that might be telling a little white lie. That might be they say, don't look left, and every opportunity you get, you're looking left. Or don't communicate with the other prisoners. You're tapping on the wall next to you to communicate with the other prisoners. If they tell you don't do it, you find opportunities to do it. You're creating small victories. And these victories are so absolutely critical. They can be the difference between life and death. We have had people take their lives. So let me back up just real quickly. The mission of Naked Warrior Recovery is 22-0. Hold on. 22 veterans take their lives every single day. Our job is to make that number go away. That's our mission. So, because people feel overwhelmed, and it doesn't matter what it is, they don't make opportunities to create small victories. So your job is to create small victories. Even when you're so overwhelmed, you don't know what you're going to do next. So create these small victories. And one of the examples that I figured out that got me through SEAL training and got a lot of guys through SEAL training is I use Hell Week. It's 5.5 days. Hell Week is about week number 5 of 26 weeks. You lose about 70% of the people from day 1 till Hell Week. And then in Hell Week, you lose about 70% of the other people that are left. And then of that core group, most of them graduate, not everyone. So Hell Week is 5.5 days. You're cold, you're wet, you're miserable. You carry this boat around in your head. It sucks. You don't sleep. Actually, they let us sleep for about 2.5 hours. And that was really the worst thing they could have done, the worst punishment ever. Because getting up and waking up and getting your body going again, that was the absolute worst. But one thing is constant during Hell Week is they feed you 4 times a day. So it doesn't matter how much it sucks, how miserable you are. You're tired of carrying that boat on your head. You're laying in the Pacific Ocean, jackhammering uncontrollably. All you have to do is make it to that next meal. You just got a small victory. So if you want to accomplish the biggest goals in your life, you have to create small victories and never quit. I have my notes over there and my computer over here. Oh, create small victories. Clearly, I am a little behind the power curve here. All right, the A is accept failure. What do you think is going to happen when these guys paddle out? I'm going to talk to you about this evolution really quickly. So this is called surf passage. And the goal is to paddle your little rubber boat out past that wave that's about to destroy your soul. I'll give you 3 guesses on if these guys are going to get past that wave or not. And I don't know if you can really tell how big that wave is. I'm going to tell you that's probably at least a 10-foot wave. Water is about 8 pounds a gallon. It's a lot of gallons coming down on top of you. But anyway, failure. Failure has been one of the biggest, and we've talked about this a little bit already, one of the biggest teachers of my life. Failure, if Pedro said, hey, I'll give you $10 million and you give me your failures. Keep your money, my friend. You say 100 million, maybe. 10, yeah. I learn more through failure than I do from doing it right. And when I was in SEAL training, I was not a very good student. I wasn't very athletic. I wasn't very fit. And there were these guys that were fucking studs. They could run faster than, like, effortless, swim, course. They were like perfect leaders. They were strong. But when you're in SEAL training, every student fails every day, usually multiple times a day. And I was blown away that these guys would quit because they couldn't stand the thought of being told they weren't good enough, being told that they failed. They quit. I think there's some people in here that have maybe gone to the project and have been told they're not good enough and told they're going to quit. So another line from the Navy SEAL Creed, if knocked down, I will get back up every time. I am never out of the fight. So when you experience failure in your life, in your business, in your relationships, take that failure on as a lesson. Take that failure on as a way to not do something. Here's a couple of examples of, accepting failure that are not specifically Navy SEAL. What's that? You got Oprah. Oprah grew up in a backwoods Mississippi. At age 13, she ran away from home. At age 14, she got pregnant, had a baby. The baby died. She eventually moved in with her dad. She got a job at a radio station. She focused on academics. That eventually turned into her becoming a news anchor in Baltimore, Maryland. First news job, real news job. She got in that job. It was a complete failure. They fired her after 3 months, actually demoted her to the newsroom or as a street reporter. That failure turned into the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah went on and made a movie. You guys know the name of the movie? No one does because no one does because it was a failure. But she took that failure and now she has O Magazine, Harpo Productions, and Harpo Studios. Michael Jordan, arguably one of the best basketball players of all time. He's missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He's lost more than 300 games and missed over 30 game-winning shots. What did Michael do after the game, win or lose? He went back to the gym and he practiced those shots that he missed. He practiced them over and over in every scenario that he could until he didn't miss anymore. Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, 2 icons in the business world. Both men fired as CEOs of companies that they started. They went away, they learned, they came back, and they've created greatness. And lastly, Thomas Edison. He learned more than 10,000 ways to not create the incandescent light bulb. How many times have you done something and failed 10 times and said, I'm done, I quit, I'm not doing that anymore? 10,000 ways, 10,000 failures. So if you want to accomplish the hardest tasks, you have to accept failure. and use those lessons from failure to create your success. Use them as a foundation for your success. K is Kill Mediocrity. So let's just talk about this video. So this picture and the next one are from my friend Darren McBurnett. He was a SEAL also. And one of his jobs in the teams after he had heart surgery was to take badass pictures. And so he has a book called Uncommon Grit. You guys should go get it. It's a fat, hard cover book. Great coffee table book, and it's got just some amazing pictures in here. But this evolution right here, this is called drown proofing. And this is an evolution of you, if you were even 1% mediocre and you're not giving all of your every percent, then you will fail. And I'll talk you through it. So they tie up your hands and your feet and throw you in the water. Or actually, you voluntarily jump in the water. And what you have to do is you take a deep breath before you jump in. And as soon as you get in the water, you exhale all of your air. If you keep a little bit of air in your lungs, I'm getting ahead of myself. You exhale all of your air, you go to the bottom, you sink to the bottom, you squat down, you jump, not too hard because you only want to come up and just have this much of your head come out of the water. You take a deep breath and then you blow it all back out again. And then you sink. And you just keep doing that. If you don't exhale all of your air and be 100% committed to this, to sink to the bottom, you're going to get stuck somewhere in that water column. You're going to go about halfway down, and you're going to be about a foot from the bottom, and you're like, oh, I'm coming. Oh, a good thing I kept that air. Nope, it's not a good thing. Then you have to make a decision. Do you blow the rest of your air out and try to sink back down, or do you mermaid your little self back up to the surface? So that's one piece. Then after you've proven that you can do that, then you have to float on the surface. So what you have to do is you have to bend your body in half and get your lungs as parallel to the water as you can. And you take a deep breath, and then you hold it. And then when you need to take another breath, you pop your little head up, not too far, and go back to it. And you're going to do this for 5-10 minutes until they think that everyone is comfortable. And then they're going to say, swim. Now you swim across the pool. You swim about 100 yards across the pool and back. And, you know, you're like a little mermaid, and then you get back. And they say, okay, bob again. So now you're like, okay, I'm out of breath. And when you're swimming, you know, your face is in the water. You got to do like a little kicking, like, and so, but it's just to see if you're comfortable in the water and if you're willing to be 100% committed to what you're doing. No mediocrity. And then when you get back from that swim, you're kind of out of breath. You have to, they say, bob again. So you blow all your air out of your lungs, you sink to the bottom, and you jump. And you do that again. And then at some point, they're like, okay, do a front flip underwater. So you blow all your air out, you sink to the bottom. You do a little front flip, you kicking your little legs around. I want you guys to try this sometime. Not tied up. Just like do it, not tied up. And then you bob some more, and they say do a backflip, and you do a little backflip underwater. And then they say, okay, go get your mask. And that's what this guy is doing right here. And the way you do that, you blow all your air out, you sink all the way to the bottom, and you lay down on the ground. All the way down. And you use your teeth and pick up your mask. And then, I'm breaking stuff, sorry. We're good. And then, having too much fun. And then you get back to your feet. He's almost there. And then you start bobbing again. But this time, you got this mask, this strap in your teeth like this. Now you breathe. You try to breathe. You know what? The first thing that comes in is water. So I remember doing this, and I was like, and it's like almost like it's 50-50 water air. And I'm like, start choking and gagging, and I'm like, oh, keep going, dude. And so I'm gagging and choking on the way down. Don't you drop that mask, you have to pick it back up. And then you bob until you get they're like, okay, you're good enough now, swim to the side, and they pull you out. So that is kind of an example of you know, being 100% committed to what you're doing, and don't do it mediocre, or you won't make it. But so you work really hard. Another line from the Navy SEAL Creed says, in times of war and uncertainty, there is a special breed of warrior ready to answer our nation's call, a common man with an uncommon desire to succeed. Navy SEALs are regular folk, just like you and you and you. But we have this uncommon desire to do hard shit. We have this uncommon desire to not fail. And if we do fail, we accept it and we learn from it and we keep going. And that was something that I meant to say a little bit earlier, is, these guys that quit early on in Hell Week, or even just in Buds, that were phenomenal athletes, phenomenal Greek gods. They were used to winning. And it wasn't about discipline equals freedom. It does. For them, that was about grit and grind. And it's the same thing that we have in our society today. We are at war. We're at war with mediocrity. And if you don't think so, tell me how hard it is to not get sucked into this thing, scrolling, social media, finding excuses to not attack your goals for the day. But I have a trick for you to help you kill mediocrity in your life, and that is to compete. Compete in kindness. Compete in giving. Compete in generosity. And most importantly, compete against your ego. Because your ego knows exactly what to tell you to make you mediocre. Your ego knows all your strengths and all of your weaknesses. So if you want to change your life, make your life better, and improve the lives of the people around you, you have to have an uncommon desire to kill mediocrity. The E is expose your fears. So again, this is from McBurnett and his book. And this is how you swim from one side of the pool to the other. It's super fun. And so here we're talking about exposing your fears. Maybe you have a fear of water. Maybe you need to tie yourself up and throw yourself in the lake sometime. I don't mean lions and tigers and bears, oh my, when I'm talking about fear. I'm not talking about snakes and spiders, although I'm not a fan of those guys either. I'm talking about the fears that you have buried in the back of your brain. Those fears that you don't want to talk to people about. Those fears that keep you up at night or wake you up at night. Those fears and thoughts that drive you crazy while you're alone in your car. And you start having these weird arguments with yourself, with someone else. The fears that you don't want to share. Too early for that one. So the way that you take control of those fears is you have to expose them. And there's a couple of ways to do that. One way is, let's just say, it's to do hard things. Do things that scare you. Like public speaking. I have a fear of public speaking. So I'm up on the stage right now speaking to you. I'm exposing that fear. I'm telling you that I'm afraid. I'm nervous. I'm scared. But I'm doing it anyway. So if you have a fear of public speaking, take an acting class. Take a public speaking class. Get in front of your peers and speak. You're going to find out very, very quickly that they want you to succeed in what you are doing. They do not want you to fail, and they will help you. Maybe you have low self-esteem. Maybe you were bullied as a kid. Take a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class for a year. You're going to learn a skill that's going to help you defend yourself if you're ever in a self-defense situation. You're going to be forced to fight someone every single night you go to class in a safe environment. You're going to expose those fears. And if all else fails, another coach of mine and friend, Sharon Srivatsa, he says fear does not exist on paper. So what he does is when he's driving and he has all this stress and anxiety and all these voices running around, he'll pull over, go to a Starbucks, order a coffee, sit down with a pencil and a piece of paper, not your iPad, not your phone, not your computer, and writes the things that are bothering him down. It's kind of like talking to a therapist, only you're not talking to people. And once you read those things that are bothering you, you're going to be like, that's what's bothering me. That's the silliest thing ever. How is that controlling my life? So once you learn to expose those fears, you will control those fears, and those fears will no longer control you. Courage, what's this guy's name? Hold on. Shit, I forgot. I want to give him credit. Mark Twain. Mark Twain says, courage is the resistance of fear, the mastery of fear. It is not the absence of fear. Fear will always be there. But you know that fear is generally something that will never happen generally. So as long as you control those fears will never, ever control you. I had another story in there about turning fear into action. We're past it now. So if you've gotten anything out of this presentation, this is where you're going to get the presentation. Tell me if this QR code works or not. And if it doesn't work for you, go to 5sealsecrets.com and put your name and email in there. And I will email you a copy of this presentation, these 5 Seal Secrets, pictures and all, script, so you can see what it is. And I want to give you a quick story about when you get this. I shared this with a friend of mine. His name is Jim. He works in the outdoor apparel industry. And he was having problems with his CEO, and because they just got a bunch of VC money injected in the company, and the VC firm wanted their money back very quickly. And so they were putting all this pressure on my buddy, who is the head of product design. Make this, make that. I'm like, so sit down with your CEO and go figure out short, medium, and long-term goals of the company, and then you guys can strategize. And then I was also talking about some other personal stuff in his life, and I was like, use these 5 Seal Secrets, go here, download the thing. He did. It's about a 7.5-page PDF document. He got it, he printed it out, he laminated it, he stuck it to his wall, taped it to his wall. And the next morning he went into his CEO and he said, Bedros, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to perform for you. Because Jim went in there and he took charge and said, I don't think I can perform for you the way you want me to. The CEO was like, holy shit. First of all, why are you saying you're afraid? And second of all, why are you saying that why are you being honest about it? And he's like, my buddy gave me this 5 Seal Secrets. I'm exposing my fears. I'm telling you, if you talk to me the way that you did, this way and that way, I'm afraid I will not be able to perform for you. And so then the CEO was like, hey, can you share these 5 Seal Secrets? Can you share this document with me? And he shared it with some other people in the company, and I'm going to turn that into some speaking and coaching engagements. So that's 5 Seal Secrets. We have one more, and that is that I'm going to do. But I don't know if you guys have heard The Man in the Arena from Teddy Roosevelt. I believe that truly embodies the 5 Seal or the 5th Seal Secret. And while you're kind of going through doing your name and email on that page, I'm going to recite The Man in the Arena. And it goes something like this. The poorest way to face a life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There are many who confine themselves in the criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief to all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort where even if it fails comes a second achievement. It isn't the critic who counts. It isn't the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man or woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives gallantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement? And at worst, even if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his fate shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Again, that was Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena. I chose to do the long version. Thank you. I chose to do the long version because if it's worth doing right. And so It seems like a lot to rehearse or remember, but I'll tell you that my 8-year-old daughter has it memorized. Apparently, I practiced it enough time in my house. And I didn't even know she was listening. I didn't know I did it that much. But she learned it much faster than I did. And so the last SEAL secret is do the work. You see, in this world of instant gratification, social media that we're a part of, we forgot what work looks like. We forgot how to do the work. Notes. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that Rome wasn't built in a day, but I guarantee you it was built every single day until it became an empire. In the SEAL teams, we have a saying that says, earn your trident every day. When I graduated from SEAL training, I did not have that mentality. I had just graduated the hardest military training in the world. And I was like, hard part's done. It's all downhill from here. And I couldn't have been more wrong. When I got to the SEAL teams, I learned very quickly that every SEAL, no matter your age or your rank, is expected to perform better today than they did yesterday. And that's why they say the only easy day was yesterday. So, in closing, if you want to think like a Navy SEAL and apply these lessons into your life, you have to, what do you have to do? Wait, what do you have to do?
Get naked.
That's it. You never quit. You accept failure. You kill mediocrity. You expose your fears, and you do the work. Thank you very much. I got that done in 30 minutes. Yeah. No, 40 minutes. And we can do Q&A right now if you want.
Yeah. Hey, guys, open it up for Q&A. If you guys have any questions, this is the time. Will, by the way, I'm so sorry. First time hearing that speech. Powerful, amazing. I'm so impressed. Seriously.
Yeah. Will, when you're going through SEAL training, the 26-week period, even through Hell Week or wherever you're at, when you start to have that internal conflict, a couple times going through the project, the thought entered my mind that I was going to quit. And both times it happened to me, it was the fact that I felt that the instructors didn't even care if somebody got hurt or not in my mind. And I was in a weakened state, no sleep, not much food, yada, yada, yada. How do you guys deal with those thoughts? Do you immediately capture them and reject them? Do you fight them out? Do you tie it to your why? How do you guys deal with
I would like to say that we don't have it, but I absolutely do. I think just having a bigger idea. Quitting was never an option, like big picture quitting. But I did little micro quits all the time. Like I'm running and I'm like, oh, my stomach, oh, my legs. And like I'm just feeling sorry for myself. I can keep going, but I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was like, so I'd slow down. Well, guess what? I paid the man because I slowed down. I got stronger though because through those other payments, I was able to keep up on runs and things like that later on. But I certainly had these little micro quits, and we all have them, but you just have to just power through them. Like, what is your end goal? What do you want to do? What's your end state? You didn't show up to the project to quit. You paid a bunch of money to be there and learn from some epic instructors. Why are you there? And then why would you quit if you had that conviction to be there?
Is it possible not to have any of those micro quit voices?
I don't think so. I think that's the 10 that Bedros talks about. We're all always trying to climb that mountain. What's the next mountain? What's the next ridge? What's the next goal? You're always trying to get there. But it's going to be hard. And that's what I talk about, those small victories. Small victories are really about, they're about being, when you're completely out of control, taking some control back into your life. So sometimes you don't want to do it, but you just do it anyway. Or you do something that you trick your mind into it. Thank you. I made lots of mistakes, but you guys didn't know that.
I'd like to thank you.
You're Thank you. Thank you. Any other? Yes, sir.
What was the book that what was the book that you recommended? Was it Undercover Grit, the coffee table book?
Uncommon Grit.
Uncommon Grit. Thank you.
It's really, it's got some phrases in there, but it's mostly, just really cool pictures of SEAL training.
Darren, who was a Navy SEAL as well, is a great photographer, amazing photographer.
Fantastic.
And he just took some amazing pictures from an experience that most people don't have access to unless you're from there. And so it's such an amazing photo book, but it's got motivational, inspirational quotes in there. I bought one, love it, and it's at home on display on the coffee table for just a thumb through. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you talked about it's a common man with an uncommon desire as part of the creed, right?
Yes.
But you talked about how 70% didn't make it, then the other 70% didn't make it, then the few made it at the end. What was in your head? What was your conviction that kept you going to the end versus?
There's nothing I've ever wanted to do in my life other than to be a Navy SEAL. From childhood till, it took me, my journey just to get to SEAL training was 4 years. So I joined the Navy the year before I graduated high school. Then I graduated high school. Then I went to boot camp, and I made some errors along the way that landed me on a ship in Yokosuka, Japan. And because I went to a school that made me very valuable to the Navy wasn't going to let me go to SEAL training. You're more critical to the Navy doing this job than you are being a Navy SEAL. So it wasn't until the Chief of Naval Operations, who's the most senior guy in the Navy, the only people who are more senior to him is the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. He came to my little ship in Yokosuka, Japan, talked about what the CNO, his vision of whatever, and then said, does anyone have any questions? I joined the Navy to be a Navy SEAL. My detailer won't let me go. I think I deserve a chance to go, but he says I'm too critical. Can I go? He turns to my commanding officer and he's like, is he a good guy? And he was like, yeah, he was a sailor of the quarter this quarter, which is like employee of the month. He's like, I did it. I did a good job. And so he turns back to me and says, check, you'll be in the first class after your PRD, which is planned rotational date. 6 weeks later, I'm off to California. So the lesson there is just take action.
Yeah. Who would have had the balls to ask that question?
That's the most senior guy of the, well, you might as well go to the top. I had a silver bullet, use it. So, yeah. Any other questions?
I think this should get taught in schools. I think you should be talking to teenage boys and kids. I think that message right there, if I would have heard this in high school or something, I'm hearing it at 31, right?
Right.
This kind of stuff needs to be getting heard at 13, 14, 15.
I agree, yeah.
You would pull more triggers with teenagers. They'd be more willing to pull more triggers in earlier.
That'd be a great idea.
Right.
Than later, because later the time's already passed. You're not getting that back.
Maybe the Squire program will hire me to come out and speak. Or something.
All right, guys, any other questions for Will?
All right.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.